Hey dudes, I already recorded this once and then I deleted my save folder for the video and it stopped the recording. So I have to do this all over. This is just going to be a quick video on an overview of Project 1 and a breakdown of the course grading structure. And then at the very end, if you guys want to stick around, I'm going to be covering some basic like the basic overview of the Mac operating system, because that's what is in the labs, even though nobody's using the labs that I know of. And some kind of like tips and tricks about the Mac operating system that you should kind of be aware of. So I think if you're going to be staying in this industry, you'll probably need to have some knowledge of the Mac. So because it's an intro class, I normally cover this a little bit. I know that everybody at home already has their own computer and they know how to use it to some extent. But so let's fly right in here. So Project 1, and just remember, on Monday, we're going to have the quiz, the only quiz of the course. And it's from Vocab 1, right? Computer Basics. So make sure you are checking out those terms over the weekend. Project 1, all of these project descriptions are very well detailed. So I normally like to talk about them before I assign you guys to have the, write your proposal. So even though I don't think I need to, I thought it'd be good to just cover it real quick. So there's a lot of stuff on here for you guys to get some background knowledge and history, different artists. At the bottom, there's even more, so you can, browse around. The assignment itself is you're going to create one image, relates to the theme of hyperreality and or simulacrum. Excuse me. So you can decide if you want to have a combination or one of the two. And I have the general descriptions right here with links. So it's just a matter of going through and getting an understanding of what these terms mean. I could also suggest doing some Google search, like Google image searches, using these key terms. That can give you a good avenue to start. The sketches we're going to be talking about on Monday, and we'll also be doing the not assignment, the exercise, learning Photoshop on Monday. So we'll kind of walk through like starting up a file and walking through settings. But the other thing to note is that you want to be picking a theme, right? You want to have a general sense of what approach you're going to take with your image. You don't have to know what your image is going to look like. You just have to have an interest in like which approach you want to be striving for. And I will note that the second project is going to be heavily focused with typography and graphic design. So if you're trying to get, a well-rounded experience for the course, you might want to just approach the first or the last there. And the rest is about critiques and submission. So there is project grade sheets, like rubrics, for each of my projects. I've taken the liberty of updating stuff this semester, and I think it's supposed to be. I think it's going to be much more streamlined for your guys' like understanding of how to go about, obtaining the best grades you can, making sure you're following through on everything. So if we go back, so that's Project 1. On our main page here, I did tweak the syllabus for like my office hours and the grading, because I tweaked the grading now. But there is a full grading breakdown that I just finished here. So I want to get this done so I could talk about it in the video. And it's never looked this this specific before. So I've broken it down kind of like how I break down the project grade sheets. Except in the past, I usually just had like categories for proposals and for sketches separate from the projects. Like they're still being graded the same way in which I graded in the past, but now they're all underneath of, you know, one section at a time. So you can get a better sense of how the points are coming together better, right? So we only do have the one quiz, it's a couple points, and we do have a couple responses, a couple points. Those are very small amounts of points for the course, but every point adds up. And besides that, the other elements here that I want to talk about are from the beginning of the course to the end of the course, we're kind of stepping our way up in terms of technical ability, not only for like your expectations for the projects, right? You're going to be getting better and more acclimated with working with these programs and becoming more efficient working with programs, but also with your sketches and relating ideas on paper, visually, as well as cognitively being able to write. And the writing component isn't huge, but the writing components are directly influencing your projects to great degree. And this semester with the like partner projects that you're going to do like little research topics, those are also designed for writing, but also for getting you guys to be more actively aware and involved with each other. So I'm hoping this helps out tremendously. The biggest thing I found when I went to grad school was that I had really no training in writing for art. Like I've taken art history courses by then, and I knew how to write well, but there's a whole different really way of thinking about writing for art. And obviously you're not going to learn it all in this class, but I think it is important to be conscious of developing that area because it's going to help you all the way through whenever you're like talking with people, collaborating. People ask you questions. How do you describe things, right? You want to be able to speak clearly when you talk to people, right? So that's like our in-person discussions. But then also, how do you translate that fluid speech into writing, right? So it is important, especially with media, when you get out into the field, whatever you're doing. There's not a ton of money in media. So you really have to be able to write proficiently enough so that you can have successful opportunities applying for grants, applying for jobs, so forth. So I am specifically asking for that this semester, letting me know how you feel like your cognitive ability in writing evolves and how that research and development of this process, how do you think that promotes your abilities in the content areas, right? It's kind of like a two-tier complex kind of question. So That's what I'm interested in hearing about this semester. So, once we have those feedback sheets, I'd love for you guys to give me some feedback on how that's working. Okay. So if anybody does have questions, we could talk about it on Monday. So I don't know if I mentioned this because it's the second time I recorded this. So not only are the projects going up in tier, the audio is not, but technically we still have audio in the coding. So, so we're going up in points per project, but also, all of these other topics like your research partner projects, those are going up incrementally over each subsequent time. So the goal ultimately is that I'm taking it easy on you towards the beginning, and then it starts to become hopefully not more pressure. Hopefully it's like less pressure, that you're getting the experience from each of these categories. And because I'm putting all of these together, right, on each project, I'm hoping to then add these other categories onto your project rubric, like your feedback sheet. Because I've never actually listed sketches on there before, right? Well, why grade the sketches without telling you anything about them? So it is more work for me, but I think that giving you a full total snapshot of all the different parameters and that total points towards the end, I think that's more important. Just like, rather than 15 points for just the image itself, you have all these other points. Ultimately, like all these side things are building up to get you to that project. So I'm also interested in that, I guess, in the end. How do you think that the feedback, the updated version of this feedback, is at making you aware of the ways in which you can improve and refocus? So as we go along, these different categories are getting larger. You should have more feedback. You could, in theory, do a better job each time, right? So I've done this course a lot, and I'm trying to not be lazy and just push you the same stuff over and over and over. I'm trying to make sure I'm actively being engaged with your guys' learning. So more little bits of feedback here and there that I get, that'll also help me continue on this semester and following. So the last bit is the Mac overview demo. So if you guys are interested, stick around. I know that a lot of you that have Macs already probably have a good idea. So I will be covering some a little bit more in-depth tools for you and understanding as we go along. But this is an intro class, so I kind of also want to make sure I'm covering the basics, even though we're not in the lab. But it's kind of like a standard. The Mac's a standard for design and not so much for coding. But being media majors, it's probably good to have an understanding of the other system. So basic overview is here on the desktop, we have whatever files we want, right, on our desktop. But we also have a menu bar, a dock that we can put whatever programs we want in. And then our menu bar at the top, right? 3 different elements. I'm going to talk about them all separately, but also how they interchange with one another. So the first thing I like to always talk about is Finder. Because if we're clicking here on the desktop, you'll notice that it's saying Finder up here. Finder is our home folder, our root organized filing structure on the computer. We also can search for files through there. So whether you go to like the Spotlight search, you know, and search for a file, or if you go right here and search for a file, a couple different ways. I will note that the Spotlight search is usually really quick. So if you do something real quick, it'll just give you that, right? However, if we search in here in an actual Finder window, we can change some of the parameters of the search, right? So right now it's just saying this Mac, but we can add requirements. So it can be helpful. Like for example, if I wanted to search the word photo, you know, I don't know what's going to come up. So, you know, a bunch of different, like, obviously photos. But what's interesting here is that it doesn't actually say photo in the name. But regardless, you can search for, you know, say PDFs, and then it'll show you just PDF. So it's a very handy tool to be able to find specific things. The other nice thing about Finder windows is that we have the sidebar here. So it should be showing by default. If for some reason you turn it off, you know, you can turn it back on by showing the sidebar. The sidebar is nice because you can customize it. You could actually move things around. So like, I don't know why this is on here. It got dragged over here for some reason. I can remove that, right? Also, an interesting thing is when we do a new Finder window, right now it's coming up showing me what's in my Mac Mini. Well, this is not really helpful as a standard, like as a default. So we actually have preferences for Finder. And this is different than the system preferences. This is like literally the preferences for the program called Finder. So if you've never gone through these, I would take a look, because you probably have some preferences that would be nice to have set for you, you know, personally. New Finder windows, I like to have my root folder, my home folder, to pop up, so that when I open, it's showing, you know, more or less more of the main folders that I'd prefer to have being shown. You know, or you could set a specific folder like documents or something like this. Also, it's already over here on the side, but I can remove it for now. And, oh, had a glitch out there. That was funky. Hopefully it doesn't stop my recording again. Documents. So if I find my Spring, oh, it's still there. I don't know. I don't know what's going on then. Point is you can drag individual files if you want a specific file over here. So it can be helpful if you're, you know, if you're working on one project for a class, maybe put that project folder right there. You know, it helps quite a bit. And then when you're done, you can remove it. Another thing is the ability to stay organized. So obviously you can make folders and subfolders and blah, blah, blah. And you could like change your view of how you're looking at folders, right? So like I could look at my documents, I can look at the spring semester, and then in the spring semester, I can look at what project or what class, and then, you know, another, and if you have, depending on what view you have the ability of seeing all this stuff. At the bottom here, you have the ability of turning on the directory, seeing what you know, what file is under where. So that's all. These are all helpful things to do. So What should I talk about next? Spring. Huh, interesting. I don't know where the actual folder for this went. Yeah. Oh, college years. I forgot I made this. I made this in the last video example. This is what screwed me up because I'm saving my Zoom video into the spring semester folder. So when I moved my spring semester folder into this college years, Zoom didn't know where it was saving stuff and it cut my video off. Anywho, so this is like, you know, where all my files are. If I wanted to have this on the desktop, I can make an alias. It's a shortcut. This is like one of your terms on your vocab for the quiz, right? Gives you this little arrow at the bottom left there, just showing you that it's like pointing to the actual folder. So now, since this is here though, I can open it. It's going to show me everything normally. So really handy. And then say like next fall, I don't need it on the desktop anymore. I could just delete that alias and the actual file is still where it needs to be. So if you kind of get in the habit of using that more often, like I could do that with all of, you know, all my folders on the desktop. And then it gives you more freedom to kind of manage things. So aside from the basic stuff I just covered in Finder, we also do have the applications shown under Finder. And obviously you probably already know that you can just drag and drop whatever programs over here, right? You could also should be right here. Sidebar tags. The option used to be, yeah, see this stuff here? This used to be under preferences. It's not anymore. But the actual, the dock here, there should be like these dividers, right? You can click on the dividers. If you right click on that, you actually have dock preferences. Oh, and see now it's under system preferences. Oh, okay. Man, maybe was that always there? I don't know. Anyway, you can change all those, obviously. So if that's right in the system preferences, you probably have already seen it. One really nice thing that I like about the Mac is be able to use Time Machine. So if you get an external drive, you can back everything up. If you're not familiar with Time Machine and external drives and you want to start backing up your files, just look up a YouTube video, you know, Mac Time Machine. And you literally just buy a drive, plug it in, and it'll ask you, do you want to use it for Time Machine? And you say yes. So that's helpful. What else? Obviously, you just need to do your system preferences yourself and learn as you go. If we go to About This Mac, and this is obviously for any Mac computer you're on, you can take a look at all the basic info of what that computer has, you know, as well as storage, memory. Do you have Apple Care? But then this is the feature that I really like to access if I'm doing anything technical. System report. It gives you a full breakdown of everything in your computer. So if you need to know, like, you know, what's the specifics of my USB drive, right? Like, is it USB 2.0? Is it USB 3.0? Is it under one bus? Like, is it one are all your ports connected to one component, or are they all separate, or how is it all broken down? Maybe you need to figure that out for something. Should have USB here, boom. And looks like I have 2 USB 2.0 buses and a single US 3.0 bus. Complicated? Yes. How do I know which bus, like which port is the right port? I don't, because they're not labeled as blue. So I actually don't really know unless I plug them in and remember what spot is what. But unless it just smartly switches, or, you know, I don't know. But anyway, you can go in here and click on each one of them and get more information. So same thing with like your SATA, so your hard drives. So you can get a sense of, this is like a 1 terabyte drive. My solid state I have in here is 120 gigabyte, right? What other good stuff is on here? Your free space, is it writable? The rotation speed. So like all of this is a nice, you know, is nice to know where all that is. Oh, speaking of how I was saying the, you know, it's saying Finder up here, I said earlier. This menu bar just smartly switches to whatever program you're in. So if you switch to, you know, I switch to Chrome, it'll pop up as Chrome. Everything's going to change. So what's interesting about this is there's also a help search bar for every single program. So if you can't find something and you need to know how to do something in that program, you know, you could just go here and search. So like, how do I copy something, right? It'll show you where. And this, I mean, it's pretty same place for every program probably, but you know, as an example, it'll show you where that is. So really handy. I use it even teaching a lot. You'll see me probably search a few times, but it's per program, you know. So if we go back to Finder, we could search there as well. So I think that covers most of the basic stuff and some of extra bonus. I also want to show you, if you're in Finder, you actually have more options under Go that you might not have seen before. Specifically utilities. If you ever have access to a server, like if you make your own server, if you're connecting to a friend's server, if you have access to like a school server and you want to connect to that, you can get the server information, and then you can connect to it, and then that server will just show up in your side folder, right? It'll just show up as a regular drive, and you could save it and read files from it. So pretty handy if you've never encountered a server, like server on Macs before. But the utilities, there is one specific thing in here that I really think it's important to show you guys. There is a lot of nice bonus stuff in here you might not have seen before. There's like this digital color multimeter, gives you, you know, you can get like RGB values out of that. So that's like a quick way of getting specific color. Terminal. So if you're going to kind of change root directory stuff for your computer or install specific things, sometimes you can use terminal to do it. Yeah, terminals like use at your own risk, so make sure you do research before you mess around. So disk utility, this is what you would be using to make changes to a drive that you have connected to your computer. You never want to manage the drive that's running your computer while it's running your computer. This is primarily going to allow you to manage, like, you know, you plug in an extra drive and then you can change the formatting for it. So if you've ever tried to plug in like a drive to a PC and you can't read or write it or something, there's always kind of weird compatibility issues sometimes with drives. So you can change that. And the way you would do it is, maybe I should just show you here. So I'm going to plug in just a regular, USB flash drive here. And we should have it pop right open on the side. Boom. And it'll tell us how much is used and how much is free. And now I'm curious what is on here. Oh, so I don't want to remove this actually. But if I wanted to change the formatting, I want to delete everything and make it usable for just PC, right? That's an option. We would go to erase, and then we could change the name and we can change the formatting. And so you would just look up online like what these formats are for. Obviously, the Mac OS is going to be only usable for Mac machines. But then you could also change security options, like how secure. And if a drive ever starts failing or is corrupted for some reason, you could always bring it into Disk Utility to try some first aid before you potentially lose everything. But yeah, I wanted to bring this up because it is kind of technical. You don't want to do it if you're not comfortable or familiar with it, but I found so many times over the years that people come to me because they don't know how to do something, and you can do it all right through this Disk Utility. So it might be a little bit too much for you guys for info, but I think that's about it. Oh, how about a little quick tip at the very end here? So say I want to take this whole image, right? Or how about this? If I hold shift, I can get a square. Boom. I'm going to copy that, right? I'm just in preview, but you can copy any image, right? And then if you go into, say, a folder, a folder just has a blue generic thing, right? Well, if you go to the get info, you could see information about this folder. Right here is actually the preview of the image that you're using. And so if you click on it, you can kind of notice that it highlights it. If you copied some kind of image, you could actually paste that image, and then that becomes the new icon for your folder. So kind of fun. Not needed, not necessary. Cool dudes. Hopefully that gets you through the weekend. And oh yeah, I didn't cover at all the group project thing, so I'll have to send that in an email. All right, see you Monday.